In this video, we're going to break down Astra Yao versus Evelyn. Who should you pull? Should you spend your polychromes now to get our beautiful singer Astra Yao, or save for one more week to get our fiery waifu bodyguard Evelyn? We'll break down the value of both of these units, their team synergies, mindscapes, and more to see which unit will be better for you. Additionally, we can also determine this from a free-to-play and meta standpoint as well. Sit back, relax, and let's do this. Let's start with Astra Yao, and since she's already been out for 2 weeks, we'll skip the kit breakdown for the sake of this video. But that means we can dive right into how she currently fits in the meta and her overall value even for free to play. Part of her value is the insane amount of teams she's involved in. But here we go, the team synergy section begins now. Between her universal buffs and combat loop, core passives, and additional ability, Astra Yao is the most versatile unit in Zenless Zone 0. But the best team in the entire game is Astra Yao, Hoshimi Miyabi, and Tsukishiro Yanagi, or the team you see here labeled as LOL. I mean, we already know that Miyabi and Yanagi are ridiculous in their own right, but now you have those insane attack, crit damage, and damage boosts from Astra Yao. Remember here about Miyabi's Fallen Frost points. You get 2 per trigger of disorder. With Astra Yao causing all these quick assists, you'll be switching in between Yanagi and Miyabi way more frequently, triggering disorder way more often. Obviously, this will mean more Shimosuke stance, which is that big OP move that Miyabi does, greatly improving the team's damage. Don't worry if you don't have Yanagi though, because my main account doesn't either. If you build your Nicole to have a little bit more of anomaly focus, you can still get those corruption disorders instead. Additionally, remember that Nicole's buffs are slightly different, so they will stack, mainly that ether damage and defense shred. But this isn't the only anomaly focused team that Astra will strive in. If you didn't roll Miyabi, you can use something like Astra Yao, Bernice, and Yanagi or Jane. It keeps falling back on that quick assist mechanic from Astra's kit, where you can still trigger a lot of anomaly disorders. But if you guys have seen any of my previous team-oriented videos, you know I like doing free-to-play teams for you to consider. I tested a lot more of the free-to-play teams in the attack side of things, rather than anomaly, but there's still some good options. One of the more fun characters in the game that seems to get better with every patch is Spin to Win Piper! Something along the lines of Astra Yao, Piper, and a support like Luciana de Montefiore, whose name is really fun to say by the way, or even a stun unit. Although, to be honest, those stun units will be much more prominent in direct damage teams we'll discuss right now. Attack teams include Astra Yao, Zhu Yuan, and Qing Yi for ether weakness. This team really focused on those burst windows with the enhanced shot shells from Zhu Yuan, and you know we love any time we get to use her. Another important note is that Astra Yao will help Zhu Yuan recover her shot shells faster, especially with those chain attacks from the ultimate. Next up is our fire damage team with Astra, Soldier, and Lighter, although you can also use Lucy instead. We also have the 2 Bellabog agents with Kalita and Mr. Ben Beeger. And yes, you do have to say his name that way because he is that cool. As for an electric team, you can use the current best attack unit in my opinion, Harumasa, who even by himself has a really fun playstyle. Last but not least, you can pretty much use any free-to-play attack unit as well, Korin, Anton, or Billy. While these teams were obviously not as strong as the limited, they still cleared Chiyu 7 in plenty of time. As such, there's pretty much no limit to how you can use Astra Yao in a variety of teams. For those of you who want a little bit more power from your Astra Yao, let's dive into those Mindscapes. Mindscape 1 is called 12-Tone Equal Temperament. This will trigger an extremely long-lasting reduction to enemy resistances, a total of 18% with all stacks. Additionally, when she enters the battlefield, she gets 1000 decibels right away, leading to faster ultimates. When she uses the ultimate, every squad member will gain Song of Protection for 1 minute. Basically, if you have this effect and an enemy attacks you, you'll grant 1 second of invulnerability. Mindscape 2 increases the attack bonus you get from Astra Yao's core passive. Plus, you'll get another set of those Astra Yao follow-ups, namely that Tremolo and the 3 tone clusters. Mindscape 4 makes it so you can trigger the quick assist even when you don't have chords. Depending on what type of agent quick assists into the field, you'll receive 3 different buffs. Attack units will deal an extra 300% of Astra Yao's attack as damage, Anomaly will have 50% increased anomaly buildup on that attack, and Stun will inflict 50% more days on the attack. Mindscape 6 is a giant damage multiplier for tremolo and tone clusters, as well as a giant 80% crit rate boost. When you trigger that precise assist, which is that blue ring, Astra will automatically enter the third hit of basic attack Capriccio with an 80% crit rate. Overall, Astra's value is through the roof. She has the most amount of team synergy in the game and is probably the most valuable unit to date. If you are brand new to the game, Astra will serve you for years to come, with no power creep end in sight. But this can change depending on what units you have. Supports overall are extremely powerful, and there isn't really one in the entire category not worth using. If you have the supports for all of the other typings as well as Anomaly, it might be worth thinking about Evelyn instead, especially if you need this strong attack unit. For the sake of this video, we'll do a general overview of Evelyn's skills, and we'll save her huge in-depth breakdown for that early access guide coming out very soon. With the latest story chapter, we actually have a fairly good idea of how her kit works. Basic attack Razor Wire is a 5-hit combo dealing physical and fire damage. When the 5th hit lands against an enemy, you'll use Luna Lux Garrote to enter the Binding Seal. When that Burning Embers meter is at 50% or higher, hold down the basic attack button to activate Garrote First Form. This is a powerful slashing move dealing big fire damage. Your anti-interrupt level will increase and damage taken is reduced by 40%, while also giving you 1 Burning Tether point. If you have enough of the Burning Embers meter, you can follow up the first form with Garrote's second form. This does the exact same thing as the first form, and it will also grant you 1 Burning Tether point. This Garrote first and second form will be the primary way you get these Burning Tether points, so they're very important. Next up, let's go to Special Attack Locked Position. This is used before entering the Binding Seal, and will use her weapon to pull the enemy and charge forward with a strong kick, dealing fire damage. This will also lead to entering the Binding Seal. This leads us to why Binding Seal is so important. Firstly, through Special Attack Binding Sunder First Form. Once you have the Binding Seal on an enemy, you can press or hold the special button to activate it. This will focus in on the target that has Binding Seal, grab the surrounding enemies, and make an explosion of fire damage. If you perfect dodge an enemy's attack, you'll gain an additional 25% Burning Embers while using the skill. But here's where some of her fluidity and fun comes into her combo game. Once you have all the enemies tethered in the Binding Seal, you can cancel the detonation part and immediately follow up into Basic Attack's third hit. In other words, what I found to be the best was to go from Basic Attack 3, 4, and 5, applying that tether into her special attack and back to Basic Attack 3, or just triggering the detonation for big fire damage. In a weird way, this is pretty similar to Yanagi's quick stance change styles, in between Jyogen and Kagen stances. However, if you have enough energy when using the special, it will turn into the EX Special Attack Binding Sunder Final Form. This EX Special Attack is pretty much the exact same as the regular special attack, except it'll do a lot more damage. There isn't much to say about her dodges and assists, except for her dodge counter also giving us that Binding Seal. Her assist follow-up as well as her chain attack will also enter the Binding Seal, but once your Despo rating is at 3000 aka max, you know what time it is. Press Q to activate Ultimate Luna Lux Garrote Timbre. Not only does this cause a huge explosion dealing massive fire damage, but Bodyguard Mommy will enter the Dance of Awakened Fire state by throwing off her jacket. This new awakened fire state will last the entire remainder of the battle. The biggest thing to remember about this state is that when Evelyn consumes Burning Tether points to activate that chain attack we talked about earlier, she will retain 1 point of the Burning Tethers. In other words, after you use Evelyn's ultimate, you'll be able to retain your Burning Tether points better and enter that chain attack way faster. Additionally, the ultimate will cause the enemy to enter Binding Seal and gain you an extra Burning Tether point. If you look at her skill info list, you'll see that there's a second ultimate listed here called Shadow, but this is literally the exact same thing, it's just her ultimate when she's in the Dance of Awakened Fire state. In fact, you still get all of the same attributes as the regular ultimate. Compared to what we just talked about, her core passive Entangle and additional ability are way simpler. The core passive states that when you enter Binding Seal, your crit rate is increased by 25% at max level. This is already really good and has a lot of build implications that we'll talk about in the early access Evelyn guide coming out very soon. Anyway, after leaving the Binding Seal, you'll still retain that crit rate increase for 10 seconds. Also, if you switch to another character while Binding Seal is on, Evelyn will automatically follow up with her special attack Binding Sunder, first form. Additional ability Ambush Point is activated when another stun or support character is on the same team. Evelyn's chain attack and ultimate damage are increased by 30% for free. When her crit rate is at or over 80%, the damage multiplier for these two moves goes to 125% of the original value. Basically,
that's a lot of damage!
Compared to Astra, Evelyn is a lot more specialized of a unit. In other words, she doesn't have even close to the sheer amount of team synergy that Astra does, but she will strongly excel in her favorite teams. She's also a bit different from the other limited attack units. She can be on the field indefinitely and won't get big buffs from having the enemy stunned. This in a way gives her a bit more synergy, as you could even contemplate bringing in a Bernice for Fire Anomaly. Granted, her strongest team will be Astra, Evelyn, and Lighter. And don't worry, because I will absolutely be testing every possible team in that full Evelyn guide coming out very soon, so make sure you don't miss that. Overall, any attack unit's favorite partner is going to be Astra, but going past this, Evelyn has a few other options. Lighter provides insane levels of buffs to any fire and ice team, and strong resistance debuffs as well. Without Lighter, the next option for stun would be Kalita from the standard banner. Support-wise, Lucy is the next best option past Astra, and will provide strong energy and attack buffs, as well as some decent damage along the way. As stated earlier, you could even contemplate using Bernice in Anomaly, since she's mostly off-field, while Evelyn stays on. However, this won't be as strong as that attack support focused team, just due to the sheer amount of daze and stun you get. It's also worth noting that while Evelyn is fire attribute, her primary focus is definitely not getting attribute Anomaly. Breaking her teams all down, she definitely does not have nearly as much as Astra. If you are looking for a strong fire attack unit and don't have Soldier 11, Evelyn should definitely be your waifu to pull. She's going to be our strongest attack unit in the entire game when she releases in just a few days, and we got a decent taste of that from the story. Just like we did with Astra, we also need to quickly talk about Evelyn's Mindscapes, as this could be a good indicator for those who want a little bit more bang for the buck. Mindscape 1 states that Evelyn will immediately have 1500 decibels on entering the battlefield. The rest of this just says that Binding Seal will apply a new debuff called Bound. This will automatically ignore 12% of the enemy's defense, and when you use Special Attack First Form or EX Special Attack Final Form, this will upgrade to hitting every enemy by the skill and will last for 10 seconds. In other words, a free 1500 decibels as well as a 12% AoE defense ignore. Mindscape 2 is an automatic 15% attack boost. This will raise the interrupt level on that chain attack Luna Lux snare, but more importantly, when you use basic attack Garrote in either form, you will be refunded the Burning Embers. This will trigger once every 25 seconds. Mindscape 4 gives Evelyn a 10% of her max HP shield when using chain attack or ultimate, and while she has this shield, her crit damage will increase by 40%. Mindscape 6 is quite a doozy and will give Evelyn a new Shadow String Edge buff when using chain attack or ultimate. Whenever you use basic attack, dash attack, special, or EX special, you'll get an extra follow-up dealing fire damage equal to 375% of Evelyn's attack. This is considered chain attack damage and can trigger up to 16 times. And the number of these triggers will be refreshed each time you get the Shadow String buff. Let's put a bow on this and finally answer the question, who should you pull? If you need a general support unit who will never be outdone or power crept, Astra Yao is undeniably the best option you'll have for a long while. Her sheer amount of power, utility, teams, and more is off the charts. As a free-to-play player or a newer player, I would personally suggest going for Astra right now, as this is a perfect unit to start your Zenless teams with. For more seasoned veterans who have more units or may not have a strong fire damage unit, Evelyn is your waifu. unit. She will be our strongest attack unit in the game so far, and isn't reliant directly on stun for a big portion of her damage. Especially in those fire teams, she'll do insane amounts of AoE damage, and can more than likely clear a lot of off-type endgame content as well. Free to play wise, she is still extremely valuable, as you'll not have to pull for another attack unit for a long while, and can be even more beneficial if you don't have Soldier 11. Either way, it's going to depend on what your account needs. Either unit is going to be amazing for a long time, and you shouldn't regret pulling for either. Or if you're like me, both. So there you have it for if you should pull Astra or Evelyn. Obviously, the choice is up to you. Although if you're like me, you'll probably just be spending absolutely every single polychrome you earn on both of these ladies. But let me know what you think of these characters in the comments below. I can't wait to discuss them further in more detail with you all. Make sure to like the video if it helped in any way, as well as subscribe for more Zenless Zone Zero content. With Evelyn coming out in just under a week, you can expect those early access guides very soon. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching, and bye for now.